Republican Congressman from Texas and member of the House Oversight and Appropriations Committees, Michael Cloud. Congressman, thanks so much for being on the show. Before we have a lot to talk about. But I know you were in a couple hearings today, including one on DOGE and one on trans in sports. I'd like to hear a quick update on both of those first.
Sure, yeah. It was in the DOGE committee. Actually, we had a hearing on transgenders in sports, and we had the chairman of the board of the fencing organization, where just recently we had a student competitor take a knee because they were forced to compete in a women's event against a male. And we've seen this time and time and time again. This is something the American people spoke loudly about in the election, and certainly something they do not support. But even their star witness was claiming that there's no difference between men and women competing in sports. And, you know, you don't have to go very far.
Come on, right? Congressman. I can't believe you still have to deal with that nonsense. This is such a no-brainer.
This is one of those areas where you would have thought after the election they would have pivoted, they would have changed course, but they're still beating this drum, pretending there's no difference when it's obvious difference. You have mediocre athletes who don't make it in male sports. Suddenly they become champions in female sports. And, you know, as the father of a daughter who's quite the competitor, I have to say, you know, this is something that we need to make sure that we're standing up and we're protecting women's sports and making sure that they have every chance to compete for the victory, to compete for the scholarships, to compete for the championships, that they should have the opportunity to, that they've been able to now for some years.
Well, good luck with that, Congressman. Appreciate your hard work on that. I want to get to some of these headlines. Much is being made of President Trump's budget proposal, which would increase defense funding by 13% in the next fiscal year, bringing the total defense spending to more than $1 trillion. But given the number of conflicts around the world, it seems pretty likely that Trump's request would be approved. Is that a fair assumption?
I think, you know, somewhere very close along those lines, it's certainly the right direction to go, and it is our number one constitutional funding priority. When you think of what we should be doing in Congress, is making sure that we have a well-equipped military. And for me, because it is our number one constitutional priority, it's not the $10 billion here or there that I'm going to be concerned with. What concerns me is, are we skating to where the puck is going? Are we looking at future threats and preparing ourselves for that? Are we kowtowing to a military-industrial complex and just funding military, you know, legacy programs because maybe they're in someone's district or, you know, for reasons outside of a strategic interest? And so we've got to do what's best to make sure we're equipping our people with the best fighting tools available, and that we have the supreme fighting force in the world.
Well, Congressman, a surprising number of your fellow House Republicans, 15 of them, are expressing concern over Social Security Administration cuts. The agency announced in February it would reduce its workforce by 12%. Can and should further cuts be made to Social Security?
Well, it's important to point out that cutting workforce is not cutting benefits, first of all, and cutting workforce that is delivering it, especially when a large portion of our federal workforce has been teleworking. President Biden signed on his way out the door major deals with unions to advance teleworking and to keep them out of the workforce. This is about providing good return on investment to the taxpayer. And so if we can find out cheaper, better, more efficient ways to do it, bring technology tools to the table that help us deliver just as well, maybe reduce some of the rent fees on some of these, offices, that's all fair game. And that helps us actually provide for what Social Security was supposed to provide for. It helps make that program even more stable for the long term.
Okay, Congressman, let's pivot to immigration. The DOJ is now investigating the 2022 traffic stop of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the alleged gang member and wife beater who was deported from Maryland to El Salvador by the Trump administration. Now, the guy who owned the van Garcia was driving is a convicted human smuggler who's now behind bars, and he's telling the feds that he hired Garcia multiple times for human smuggling runs. How do you think the Democrats have been trying to defend that guy feel about these new revelations?
This is a story that just gets worse and worse and worse for them. We knew that the plot and plan was going to be that they were going to try to pull on emotional heartstrings, when President Trump got in office, and that we begin to deport people who came here illegally. But this is just a story where this is exactly the people we do not want in this country. The people who come here illegally, they do the most heinous crimes. They take advantage of people. And people talk about due process. What about due process for the citizens who are here legally? What about those who come through the legal process? What about those who are having to live in the communities where these criminals have invaded? And the kids, the 300,000 kids that the Biden administration lost, that this guy allegedly, and it seems, was involved in trafficking. So this is an atrocious evil that we've got to stand up against. I'm thankful that President Trump is not kowtowing to the leftist ideologies and their talking points. He's going to do what's right.
I feel your frustration, Congressman. I think those Senator Van Hollen and the rest of them just have egg all over their faces defending that guy. But there's more. As you mentioned, another report reveals ICE has arrested an alleged child rapist living in a daycare facility in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. He's an illegal migrant. He's wanted for the rape of a 13-year-old child in Brazil, and he was living in a child care house. How many Democrats do you think will try to stop his deportation?
Gosh, one can only know. I mean, the fact that they're willing to go and travel to these places when they haven't been willing to do the same for the victims of these sort of crimes, to reach out and just to lend a hand or a call or to do whatever to protect the innocent victims. The fact that this is who they're choosing to be the poster child for their policies, it should concern every American. I think they do. The American people are happy to see that the border is secure. Now we've got to get this element that's come here criminally out of the country.
Overall, Congressman, I mean, I know it's an exciting time. It must be an exciting time on Capitol Hill, but it also has to be frustrating because so many are trying to upend the agenda that America voted for.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you're going to do something worthwhile, you're going to get pushback. There's an old saying that says if you're getting some flack, it just means you're over the target area. And so that you're going to see this. You're going to see, messaging coming from the left, trying to make mountains out of every sort of change. The President Trump is coming in and he's making the course correction that America voted for, the course correction that America desperately needs to keep us from going off the financial cliff, to keep us from being weakened in our military, from turning our country around in so many ways, facing the energy crisis that we have. All these different things that the American people said, we need a course correction. Any sort of course correction is going to take some challenging things to walk through as you go through that period of transition. But the American people are with this president and know that this is exactly what it takes to put our country on the right path.
Well, I love that phrase. And we try to cover those course corrections every night on this program. Texas Congressman Michael Cloud, we appreciate you joining us here. Thank you.